Hi, everybody. Let's see if I can just move this up just a little bit. Okay. Okay, this is day 100. Geez. 1,007 days. Today is 1,007 days since Richard went missing that we know of. Could have been July 22nd, July 23rd, July 24th, in that area that Richard went missing in 2020, the year 2020. And it was a pretty chaotic year, and it continued into 2021 and even into 2022 because of the COVID, because of, 2020 starting in July got very chaotic because of the elections, the presidential elections. Our government system has become too big. They interfere in our lives too much. So much so that it has become like a, a force within itself, for its self interests, and they use us as pawns for their wars, for their economic business plans, for their tit for tat inside of their groups, the struggle for power, for monopolies, for power over natural resources, power over land, power over licenses and patents and whatnot. They're in that system. They're probably born in that system, most of them, and they know it. And it's just a power struggle back and forth. And the rest of us who are on the outside, it's kind of like the Games. We're not in their world. We're outside of it, even though they have to have those workers in order to conduct their business plans and everything. I really believe that. And why am I talking like this? Because I want to talk about the news media today. We held a 1,000-day vigil for Richard, and it was covered in our little local paper called Greer Citizen, and I'll just show that to you right now. So this is the coverage of it. You have to pay, log in to read the rest of it. The picture is very unclear. Prayer vigil held for Greer man. That's not Richard. Richard never lived in Greer. I want to make this very, very clear. I am very grateful for any media coverage at this point. Do you know the media coverage is so abysmal that we are grateful for any, even the wrong media coverage when it comes to our son, Richard Halliday, the murdered soldier there at Fort Bliss in 2020. Not only murdered, but a whistleblower that was illegally exposed. Not only a whistleblower that was illegally exposed, but also retaliated against continuously and severely. A very good friend of mine, very good friend of his, said this was a waterless waterboarding. So not only was he exposed as a whistleblower, retaliated against severely and continuously, but that is escalated to his murder. And there's we've been running scenarios now with all the information. We've gotten piles and piles of information from leaks coming in. And I want to tell you the main people that we are looking at from Delta Battery 143, and a couple of outsiders. But we maintain that Dallas Hart was absolutely assigned to Delta Battery 143 ADA during the same time as Richard. Okay, the same time, and I hope that that the CID Quantico can confirm or deny that. We're waiting for a confirmation or a denial. And I think that the evidence that was given was tampered with. I think there's a lot of tampered evidence in this. It looks like a lot of tampered evidence. So we have all of this information about a U.S. Army soldier that was whistleblowing because he saw corruption, sexual harassment, the sexual abuse of children, porn videos. He turned in porn videos. He saw things that absolutely he had to stand up against. He could not look the other way. No matter if that meant that he would have to suffer socially. Remember yesterday I told you that is probably the most powerful psyop that we have, is disconnecting us socially. We want to be connected socially with our job. We want to be connected socially in our schools. We want to be connected socially in our churches, in our community, in our political groups, in our things that we enjoy, our dance groups, any kind of hobby groups or whatever. We want to be accepted there. We don't want to be ostracized. And that is a powerful, powerful source. That's a powerful energy. And it's a powerful way of controlling people. And so, the news media plays a huge, huge part in that, because it can move that kind of social opinion. And to have no coverage over a story where a whistleblower is illegally exposed for in the military in a city, El Paso, Texas, that's a border city with Siamese sister city, Ciudad Juarez, right? That is huge right there. During 2020, during all of this commotion, and also in the same month that the military had to announce that they have Vanessa Guillen's remains, and everything was people were losing their jobs in very high places. Okay, you're talking about a whole military shakeup, and Richard goes missing during that time. And now we have the information with the autopsy reports, but those are being kept a secret, that Richard was murdered in July of 2020, the same month that they found Vanessa Guillen's remains, and had to admit to the world, and that they did not want to say, oh yeah, and then by the way, we have another dismembered soldier at Fort Bliss under the same command that Vanessa Guillen and Gregory Morales were found dead under. Okay. And the same time period as Enrique Roman Martinez and Austin Hawk. This is very important to set what was going on at that time, because you see that the whole military was being shaken up, and absolutely 14 leaders lost their position. um, more. It should have happened to even more people. And, they were protecting their jobs, their retirement. They were also protecting their brand, the U.S. Army, Fort Hood, Fort Bliss. They were protecting Fort Bliss. They were protecting air defense artillery. They were protecting um, their livelihood at the expense of our volunteer sons and daughters. See, that's the problem. And we have autopsy reports, numbers. We have the medical examiner, the name. We have motive. We have witnesses. I was just talking to a witness the other day. Absolutely, Dallas Hart was in Delta Battery 143. Absolutely. And, so the lies that are, or the information withheld from us is also a form of lying. Because Richard was a whistleblower, never once did Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe or Lieutenant General Donna Martin tell us. Donna Martin was in charge of the CID at the time. Okay. And she never told us Richard is a whistleblower to the CID. And there are leaks in our reports why he was whistleblowing to the CID. And it is more than just the child abuse, the child sex abuse. You see, when people are engaged in that level of crime, where they will take those that cannot defend themselves, okay, those that cannot defend themselves, have no defense, and abuse them in the most intimate ways, grooming them, because it is. And any type of pornography is child sex trafficking. It's a grooming of a nation, a grooming of children, a grooming of teenagers, and, television and books and music and all of that is a grooming. There's a good grooming, professionally, theologically. We are to train up our children in the way they should go, but we know when we're apprentices, the term groom to be the chief investigator of the CID, with mentors. But in the military, we have groomers to go into sex cults that engage in pedophilia, that engage in some kind of human animal ritual kind of thing. And they'll do it in uniform. And they'll groom our volunteer sons and daughters. And they'll be in high places. I mean, just the doggy cult groomer was a colonel. And so, you join my cult, I'll give you some promotions, right? I'll give you access to schools. I'll give you deployments. I'll give you great assignments. I'll give you not to be deployed, right? So this is a severe corruption, because when Richard was, when you get a GOMAR, when you get in trouble, you get flagged where you do not get a school. So you can have a major general giving you a GOMAR, giving you a permanent GOMAR, which totally destroys your career and not have to provide any good reason for it. And the soldier has no recourse. And we were in the meeting, and they were saying if Richard would have went to court martial, he could have got 6 years in prison. I said, did you tell him that he could have got 6 years in prison? That's intimidation. And we've been intimidated. So we have all this information, and I will tell you, Macy did come to the vigil to check it out. And I called her the next day to see if she had any questions that she, wanted to ask me. And this is a journalist with the mother of a missing, murdered soldier from Fort Bliss on the border during an election year that the military is hiding, absolutely hiding the remains of their son from her. And Macy said she had no questions for me. Now, you can, figure out what you think. And I don't know who's running this paper. But I think there needs to be a change. And I'm wondering if Greer Citizen is also a nonprofit. I'm wondering because we have a campaign out right now. And I want to tell you this battle is huge because our DOD, because where is the State Department in all of this when remains were found in Mexico? Where's the State Department? Where are our representatives, our military attaches? Where are they? Where is the official letters denying or admitting to Richard being murdered and this secret investigation of the murder of our son because they were trying to protect the brand and trying to protect their jobs and their livelihood and their retirements and their privileges, all their privileges, because we have given them so much. We've given them so many privileges. We've given them such great job security. And they are to defend the Constitution. Where is Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz? Because when you look at the role that he played in all of this, when you look at the role that Danae, who I think she has a court case tomorrow morning, what role she played in this, to cover for alibis, and and also, did she? And Hamasocho, what role did she have to play? Because she was getting leaks from the CID. She had access to the CID. And there was a confidence in there because there was a connection between the CID office and Delta Battery 143 with Ron Stieg in the CID there, friends with Jay Paulin, and which was Richard's first sergeant. And then you had Tavita Nusa, which was distantly related, as far as James Hart told me, to Leilani Hart, which is Dallas Hart, and we have the screenshots of their connections. So why was Delta Battery 143 wiped clean? It wasn't to protect them from us. But we are the chief investigators, and I was given a little pep talk about that today. I guess you would call it a pep talk, to say, do not let CID Quantico, do not trust them to take over in the investigation of the murder of Richard. They can't be trusted. 15 months go by and they don't do anything. They can't be trusted. And I feel that same way with the media, that they cannot be trusted. They give wrong information. And this is after I called Macy and asked her, Macy, do you have any questions for me? Do you have anything to review for me? With this huge story that could have, do you understand what that would have done to her career? She had it right in front of her. And we had talked at the rally. And I don't know if these people understand the level of this crime, the level of this story, that it is so hands off that if there is a reporter that's hands on, their name will go down in history. I really believe that. Because you're talking about the collusion, the conspiracy of our institutions in the vicious murder of a U.S. Army soldier right there at Fort Bliss, right there at home. And Team Find Richard Halliday being appointed the chief investigators, discovering the story, discovering the crime. And the point that we're at in all of this is getting justice now in order to drive those, I'm sure he's in a military morgue somewhere, drive those who are responsible into giving us the remains of our son. And this includes, this case includes the investigation of Veronica Escobar. It includes the investigation of the AUSAs, and it includes the investigation, of course, into Delta Battery 143 and 32nd ADCOM, because don't forget that Major General Clem Coward played a role in this murder. He played a role in it. He gave Richard the retaliation. He was the commander, the commander of Delta Battery 143. And he knew so many of these people. He had long-standing relationships with the people in this case. So he definitely played a part. I know. It makes you speechless. So why is the media so hesitant? Who is pulling their strings? And I know that a lot of media and local media, they are funded by certain people. And who is telling them not to cover Richard Halliday's case? Who's telling them? Who's trying to protect evil? Who's trying to protect the pollution that is going to hurt even more of our volunteer sons and daughters. Who's trying to protect it? Who is trying to not just protect it, but it is an assault on our country. So that's why this story is so big, because it goes into the Department of Defense. So I think that is something that we need 1,000 letters to the Department of Defense, the and also the Department of the Army, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of the Army. We need 1,000 letters to go to the Secretary of Defense, right? Austin. Because these people need to be driven to do the right thing. And look at Veronica. Someone's pulling her strings. That all she cares, she's just totally into the election. And she has a band in El Paso. She's a band in Fort Bliss. And I'm talking about the people, the land and the people. She, so it's not a surprise that whoever is pulling the strings of the representatives, of the senators, of the military, is also pulling the strings for our media. And okay, let them be biased, but there is one thing that we can do, and that is we can say, look, you're biased. You do not get the tax exempt status privileges since you are biased, because the tax exempt privileges are for those that cover the important stories. It doesn't matter if it's political, which political side it's on, or if you can deem it I don't know, not to your political interest or whatever. And absolutely, this story is huge. It should be told, because I believe that it has to do with our national security, and it has to do with other cases. So, and when you have a soldier being cut asunder, yes, you heard me right, dismembered, and placed in different locations, and then partial remains found, I think that that's newsworthy. And these leaks that are coming in, this is how the media can get the AUSAs, the Bill Hickses, the Gregory McDonald's, the Steve, the Jaime Esparzas, the Veronica Escobars, the Jeff Downey, the FBI, to drive them to do the right thing, that they have to answer. That they, it's kind of, it's like saying, hey, we're here. Remember what your duty was for. Remember who's paying your bills. We're here. And I think that that is really, really important. So here is the campaign. You can find it. Here is on Telegram, but also on Facebook. Also, I've just put it everywhere. I believe I've put it everywhere. And it is 1,000 letters to stop nonprofit news media bias. So Fort Bliss soldier Richard Halliday's story ignored and left untold. Media bias at its worst. Richard Halliday's whistleblower struggle unreported. It's okay to be biased, but not on the tax exempt status. El Paso Matters has violated their status. To qualify for tax exempt status, as a news media organization, they must not be biased or political. And I put it even on a footnote. Um, you can read it how it needs to be a public benefit. An organization must demonstrate that it provides a public benefit, which means that it serves a charitable, educational, or other exempt purpose that benefits the public at large. The organization must not engage in any substantial political activity, which includes supporting or opposing candidates for public office or engaging in lobbying activities or becoming a political a political attack dog, which this is exactly what El Paso Matters did. Is it became with that one story where they legitimized Leilani Hart, who is one of our main suspects, who had a wrong relationship with her son and a wrong relationship with Tavita Nusa, and was absolutely uh, she's one of the major suspects in this. Look, they were reporting all kinds of stuff in their household since 1990s. The problems are terrible. And to use Richard's file to fortify or to use it, because this is what James Hart told me, to use it against him in her CID report, because he was telling me, oh yeah, she was going after me. Um, and the CID just cleared me. They just called me to clear me. And so, you know, if she was getting leaks and then using those leaks to fortify her complaint against her husband, and that included Richard's information, then this is very important. And, it's like Hema Sochil. We didn't know who she was, but we knew that she was up to no good, and we knew that she was getting leaks from the CID's office right there at Fort Bliss. And we made that very clear at our meeting with the 2 3-star generals. At that time, they were 2-star generals. They've earned a 3rd star. Now, I guess they've earned it by the cover up. That's just my opinion. So, and how despicable. How despicable. What a tarnish on our stars. What a dishonorable thing to do to our uniform and stars. It just makes me sick. But these two, they were there at the meeting, and I made it very clear with my husband that Hema Sochil was getting leaks from the CID, and we know that there was conflicts of interest, that the CID office there is not to be trusted, that they are not working for to get justice. They're in cover-up mode. They're a cover-up agency. And that was very clear, made very clear, because the information I gave, Soto took it. So special agent in charge of that office took the information and said he would take care of it. And the FBI was right there and let that happen. Now, why is that a problem? Because the CID was going to investigate itself for leaks. And that's a no-no. The FBI should have said, hold on a minute. Give me those papers. We will investigate. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. So, this has been a cover-up. This has been an investigation of themselves, led by themselves. That's why it hasn't been trustworthy. And so I was kindly told today, it kind of was a pep talk. is absolutely do not let CID Quantico be the chief investigator in Richard's case. When are they going to El Paso? You know, so we will be telling you that. They will. They said they're going to El Paso. I hope that they have connections there that they can send someone to Danae Katzen's court hearing tomorrow. That would be interesting. I think it would be fitting. She, after all, went on media. They did cover her going on media. Um, and I think that uh, her role in Find Richard Halliday, her role in the murder of Richard, um, is would be interesting to find out. Did she give alibis for certain people? Is she friends with certain people? Is she friends with Leilani Hart? Is she friends with Belen Rocha? Um, does she know uh, Deborah Sarah West? Or is that just with her and uh, maybe Michael Ruggiero, the first sergeant? Um, we have all these questions. How is Jay Paulin part of this? Does he know Belen Rocha? You know? So these are all questions that need to be answered that we're still because we're building the scenarios with facts. So we now know really everything makes sense what happened. Now we're just trying to weed out all of the fiction and get all facts and present them and present them and present them over and over and over again. And isn't that what the media is supposed to do? And yet they're playing politics. And, what I've been saying for a long time is that really things have broken down so badly that nobody is secure, right? Nobody is secure from our military. They're supposed to secure us, right? They're supposed to defend us. And we've been left defenseless. And so that's why there's corruption, because people are trying to find someone to defend them, to be in their corner. And there's a price you have to pay for that defense. And so our defense being taken over at the highest levels is not defending those that they should. And so we have media that is looking other places for a defense because, of course, the economy with inflation and all of that is so bad. People have to find out how to stay afloat. And of course, they even will violate their tax exempt status to do it. And what are we to do? Just keep letting this happen? Keep momentum behind the evil so that more people will be murdered, more people will be sexually assaulted, more children will be hurt? Is that what we're supposed to do? I don't believe that. I believe we have to, have that personal courage and sacrifice, selflessness, and take a stand against the evil that's going on. This evil spirit that's permeating all of our agencies and our society, and the society that it's so important for people to be connected in that way. It's so important. That's why we have the communion. God knew that. That's why we have communion. That's why we have communion with Him. That's why, The chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever, right? That's why. That that kind of relationship. That's why, you know, people wrongly think that the institution of God is a church, and it is to an extent, but the true institution of God is family. And there is no church without family. There is no church without some kind of bond to bind the people together. And of course, that's why we say, Our Father, which art in heaven. It's all about family, and we're supposed to emulate that with each other. That's why adoption is so important. And as we grew in faith, we absolutely, there's lots of different reasons behind this, but we thought, okay, we'll take some older children. We'd like boys. We have 2 girls. We'd like some boys. So we put in for 3. Believe it or not, we put in for 3 children. And we were very blessed to get Robert and Richard. So, family is the institution. And, when you combine that with that relationship with God, it's super powerful. Very powerful. And the media can influence the family, society, so much so. And so if they're going to act in that politics, then they need to do it on their own dime. Because, that tax exempt status, it gives them power that to perpetuate the evil if they're doing evil. And I think not covering this story is pretty evil. It's very evil. Very evil. So I hope that you write a letter. And you can do that to EO class. It's right here, irs.gov. This is the EIN number for El Paso Matters. And there's other ones. But we can do something. Here's Inspector Horowitz. He was on today. I'm going to review that. I was listening to some of that today. And then here, if you want to share that information, you can do it where they can cut and paste the letter, or you can also, here's an image that you might want to share, like on Twitter or something like that. 1,000 days. What happens after 1,000 days when a volunteer U.S. Army soldier goes missing and is found viciously murdered in the same month as Vanessa Guillen? Remains are found. The murderers dismember the victim and divide parts and bury parts in various locations. The U.S. military command act together in secret with all other agencies and media to hide the case. The U.S. Army does not contact the family. Soldier is dropped from the rolls. U.S. Army Command starts a smear campaign on the soldier and protects the murderers. That's pretty much sums it up what is happening. And here is the leaks that part of the leaks that we received from the medical examiner's office in El Paso. Here is from the Criminal Investigative Command autopsy report. This is um, Mexican Forensic Medical Service autopsy reports. And, so these need to be absolutely looked at. Here are the areas where the remains were found. And so I did some maps. Here is the Roberts tank for everybody. Here is the Red Rio Range for everybody. I didn't do, yeah, oh yeah, here. Here is, there's one that's not reported that we don't know. It's a one, right? And then this one right here is the Mexican one. So here's the border. Here's Santa Teresa's port of entry. And right here is where the remains were found. And by according to the leaks and even CID reports, FBI reports. So I think that's very telling. Was there anything else here? Of course, the media around this whole Tucker Carlson thing is very important. And then this video here, this is a TikTok video that I did on day 999, and it was flagged. It was covered up, so people can't watch it. So I put that on here, and I hope that you share it. I hope that you watch it. So I think that is very important. Okay, let's see what people have to say. I just need to get on here real quick. Turn this down. And I am going to go like that. Okay. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, James. Thank you, Georgina, for the prayers. Ex-Fort Hood Brigade commander faces trial for abusive sexual contact. I know we have like this sex cult going on in our military, huge sex cult, but we also have the sales of our military weapons. We have a lot of fraud with that. A lot of fraud with the ammunition being sold. So a lot of military equipment. People make money off of that, and then they just, change the paperwork, and which leads me to the discussion that I had today, and that is we can't really trust the paperwork. We can't trust our agencies. And so we really have to do our due diligence. What we can do is glean. Keep on gleaning, and you will see the truth repeat itself, and the lies will reveal themselves also. So you just have to keep going, keep going. We absolutely know that Dollar General man is vital in this, because the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, who walked into a Dollar General and said that he was with the FBI. We believe he's an FBI informant that said that the FBI had found Richard's remains in Mexico. Happened at the same time as the dates on this leak that we got from the autopsy for Mexican forensics. I don't think that's a coincidence. And the eerie thing about that whole incident that we caught on video by getting the CCTV footage, and also by interviewing the cashier, less than an hour after it happened, he went, shh, that's the eerie part. He wanted to keep it a secret. So it's very clear that Richard's remains were found. In that report, it's fragmented remains. I don't know if that's just the the way the Mexican Spanish language was translated into English. I don't know, but it said fragmented um, remains, and I'm getting shivers. And so that needs to be verified, and the way we can do that is writing letters to the Secretary of Defense, to the Secretary of the Army, to IG Horowitz, to the State Department. Where are the State Department? Where is the military attaches? Where is the Attorneys USA? Where is Bill Hicks? Because I think there is people that are more danger than we are for aiding or to telling the truth, standing up for this case. I really believe that. And I think that Bill Hicks needs to reach out to those people as well as to us to provide us with protection. That's his job. He said victims advocacy is what he wants to focus on. Well, why doesn't he do it? And where is Veronica Escobar, Cover Up Veronica? Where is she who has abandoned her people there in El Paso, has abandoned Fort Bliss and the service members there and their families? Where is she? Because she has oversight, and she can demand this, and she can demand that the Attorney USAs get involved in this, along with the Attorney General and along with the Inspector General, to drive them to do the right thing, drive them to do their jobs in their beautiful buildings, in their beautiful protected buildings, with their job security and everything that we have given them. They need to do their job. And the same thing with the media. And so this is not about being mean or vengeful. Vengeance belongs to God. This is about establishing righteousness, establishing what is right and good to do, what is just to do, so that our future will be blessed by it, right? So that we will have less of our children being murdered and being raped and being trained and coerced into joining these sex cults, and being trained and coerced into mental illness, into training for suicide, right? So this is not about being vengeful to the media. It's saying you've forgotten what you're there for. You have forgotten why you have the tax exempt status. And you're not doing your job. And you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And the same thing goes for our senior NCOs. You forgot what you were there for. To protect our soldiers, our service members. And the same thing with our flag officers, all of our leadership. You forgot what you were there for. You got too greedy for the contracts. You got too greedy for the social power that you would get, that would provide you with the jobs after you retired, and get you with whatever war company is out there. They forgot what they were supposed to do. And so this is not about being vengeful for the absolutely brutal murder of my son. Not only the brutal murder of my son, but also the illegal exposure of him being a whistleblower. Also, the continuous retaliation that was very severe, and the bullying and the harassing. Also, the asymmetric warfare tactics used against us, the military the military operations used against us. This is not being vengeful because of all of that evil. The evil came because they are they were sucked into unbelievable corruption and evil, and this is the outcome. This is the things that they're brought to cover up for their criminal syndicate, for their um, working for foreign and domestic enemies, for whatever evil situation they have gotten themselves into. Because I'm going to tell you, looking at Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz, he was not happy about the evil that he was brought in to do. He was really, I think it makes you a little crazy to do this kind of cover up, because he was absolutely assigned to befriend us because he wanted to go out to eat with us. And I think it was an unbelievable evil, the collusion. Who was going to do what? Who was going to do what? And do not mention at all that Richard was a whistleblower. Do not do that. He couldn't do that. Okay? That he was a whistleblower. And he couldn't mention the that Jay Paulin, who he's friends with, had a friend there in the CID, and he couldn't mention, it was just so wicked, everything. So wicked. Because they're very established there. These leaders. And how can the CID office investigate their own friends and family members? Don't forget, Tavita Nusa was a family member of Leilani Hart. How can they investigate themselves like that? So, and where is the media to cover that kind? They should never be in that place for years and years and years where, Colonel Clem Coward worked with Leilani Hart, and now he's a 2-star general. And hey, Clem, I'm so glad you're a 2-star general. I need some help now. Or, whatever the scenario gets to. Because there's a connection. And there's a connection with, of course, Michael Ruggiero. So, he was like, I'm not willing to talk to you. And he's Richard's first sergeant that never seemed to bother contacting family. So we'll see what the scenario turns out to be, and it's going to be serious, because there's no doubt in my mind that Richard was murdered for what he was reporting as a whistleblower. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind. And it must have been very serious for them to go to this extent. And because of the timing of it all, they did not want to have another Vanessa Guillen. So that's why they dismembered him. That's why they put his parts in different places. And that's my opinion, because we don't have anything official. We have leaks, because they made us the chief investigator. And we do have hard facts, which I would believe are official, right? We have a lot of hard facts. So we have a lot of irregularities. And we have a lot of let's just say, misinformation or the withholding of information. So if you were an investigator, what would your scenario be? Who knew who did what would your scenario be? Let's say you're writing the story of the betrayed, murdered whistleblower at Delta Battery 143. How would you write it? How would you write it? Who would be the main players? Um, so that's what we think about, and we have to investigate it. And it leads us to, with all these leaks, to a pretty good idea of what happened. It is a mystery, but it's not that big of a mystery. So, please, and you would think that the journalists, investigative journalists, would absolutely be all over this, would want to get the story out. So there are reasons why they're blocking it. There are people that are blocking it. Who's blocking this? Who's telling them? Who has that much power to say, do not share the story? Yeah. It is it's curious. It's curious. So, and why? Is it for major developmental developments, major contracts? Um, yeah, we don't know. So we do know that we need to call out the media. We do know that we need to call out our government officials to do the right thing, because not only have they made us the chief investigators, but they have made us the movers and the shakers. We're the movers and the shakers, yeah. We have all the power. We really do. And if we would just come together and realize that, we could drive them to do the right thing. And I think that's a huge theological lesson that God has been trying to tell us. He goes, I have given you power to become the sons of God, right? I have given you the power to become the sons of God. And, that always blew me away. That always blew me away. But I think what he was telling us is if we would come together, because they're built on sand. We're built on the rock. And we want to do something good. We want to do something honorable. And as long as we want to do something good and honorable and righteous and establish justice and not be vengeful, but rather, mop things up, clean things up, prepare the way for our children, for our grandchildren, make the and for nature, right? And for nature. I think then the stars in their course will fight against Sisera. So it's being true. It's being true to what we believe in. Sometimes we say all what we believe in, but we're not true to it. And our duty, I believe, in my faith, our duty is to establish justice, to establish righteousness, to put that forth as a social norm. But the social norm right now is grooming to evil, and it's getting us into a lot of trouble. So Thank you, everybody. And thank you for the prayers for my mom. They're working. She has a long way to go. Thank you so much for thinking about her and all the love that you've been sending her and our family. And, continue to pray for Richard. And I think I'm going to go back to that prayer vigil that we put together, and I'm going to post those prayers because we need to pray them continuously. And I even heard Tucker, I watched his speech at the Heritage Foundation, and he said, we don't pray enough for our country. And this was a priest had said this before he got on, and it moved him. And so he had to repeat it. And so I'm going to put up those prayers because they're all about praying for our agencies, our country, and of course, Richard, and finding Richard and coming to the truth in all of this. We want the truth. And it's super important. Uh, but we will not relinquish our position that was given to us by the command and by CID and by all of those that did not want to do their duties, that wanted to push on us because we've been the media. What do you think these live streams are? We've become the media, we've become the agencies, we've become the investigators, and we're even having to defend ourselves, right? We're having to even try to keep ourselves safe. So, thank you so much for helping us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for supporting us through all of this. And please don't stop. Please continue to write the letters. And we love you. Rob always says, tell them we love them. We love you. We're very grateful. And God bless you. And we will be back. I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.